Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News, South Florida Conservative News Service, Saturday, July 5th, around 11 a.m. And unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about the virtue signaling of a couple of leftist state of Florida representatives down at the new Alligator Alcatraz. We have a road called Alligator Alcatraz Immigration Detention Center. Okay, so the last couple of days we have had Angie Dickinson, Angie Nixon, and Anna Eskamani. Miss Nixon is from Northwest Jacksonville, and Eskamani is from the Orlando area of Orange County. And somehow they found that it was very close to them to come down to the Miami Homestead area and demand entry into this facility. At which point, of course, they were stopped and the usual drama unfolded. The problem that they had with this one, as far as the Trump administration with optics, is that it was well known that the property was seized by Governor DeSantis from the city of Miami and put to use as this facility. So anyone who didn't read a newspaper or read the documentation thought it was a state facility, which is kind of sad for whoever's being represented by Nixon and Eskamani, that they don't have anyone who can read a newspaper or what have you to explain to them that this is a federal immigration facility for deportees. So even though the state may operate it, they're operating it on the behalf of the federal government. So therefore, you would only be able to get into parts of the facility that were run for the state, like where the bathrooms are for the employees. Otherwise, they couldn't get in to see what they wanted to see, which is the detention facility itself and how horrible it is. It's not, but how horrible it is. It had a little bit of flooding, which once again, you have to say, how did the video get out? Well, you fire everybody who's working there a couple times and tell them they're never going to work again for the company, and you'll get rid of those problems fairly fast. But leaks of a natural order or political in the Trump administration are a kind of a daily occurrence. So they showed up and they were denied, and now they've had the boo-hoo-hoos. But smartly enough, because they knew they weren't going to get in, which is what we'll talk about quickly. They knew they weren't going to get in. They didn't try to bum rush the fence because they know under Florida law, which they would have been violating first, they would have gotten banged up. And if they had been able to reach the federal part of the perimeter, shit, they could have been shot dead for all we know, right? But the fact is, they behave much better around this facility than they did at the one in Newark. So what's the difference? What is the difference between the New York battle, where the mayor of Newark should have been arrested? He was arrested. He should have been prosecuted and ruined his chance to run for president, which is what he wants to do. Instead, they have that state rep who is going to be convicted and should get some time. And these two fellow travelers down here. And the big thing that I have with this whole deal, especially with these two, now, the Newark area where that was done, there was a huge amount of illegals, blah, 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 all that kind of nonsense. Jacksonville, and I'll be stereotypically racist for a minute, is not the home to a gigantic amount of illegal immigration. It is the home to a gigantic amount of African Americans. There are an awful lot of them there. And in the district that Angie Nixon runs, North Side, West Side, and downtown, there are probably more than 7 African Americans there, which would make you wonder, what's this interest in illegal immigrants? Eskamani, she's Orange County, anything can happen there. But once again, no. And that one, we couldn't get the actual documentation. You can get racial stuff when they want you to get racial stuff. When they don't want it, you can't get it. So my thing is, if you were worried about how people are being treated in detention facilities and you live in the state of Florida, why aren't you looking at our scandal-ridden, plague-ridden, dirty as F prisons for profit, right? If you are known as a prison fighter or liberator or criminals' rights or any of that kind of shit, why would you start with this, right? Well, because this is not prison reform. This is grandstanding. This is pushing a deep left agenda, which is just we don't want the illegals to have to leave and blah blah blah. Well, the good thing is the plus for Trump on this one, which is not many pluses. The plus for Trump on this one is they are making this thing sound so bad that the self-deportation will actually rise for a while. Okay. It's not very bad. They've done all the video. Every video that you've seen of the place, everything is brand new. Everything is nice. People are like, oh, it's pretty bare. It's a fucking jail, man. It is a fucking jail. It's a jail you're being held until you get put on an airplane and sent home. What did you think it was going to look like? Right? Now, get a chance to go to even our county facility, the Stockade, or even the Sheriff's Holding, go up to Stark or Rayford, or go across into the other states, go to the Angola Farm, go to Graterford Prison up in Pennsylvania, and look around there and say, wow, if I said I was putting immigrants in that, you guys would have a fucking fit. You would be clutching pearls and falling apart. But it's okay to put American citizens in these shitholes. But God forbid you do something with these illegal immigrants. I haven't been in a lot of these places. Yeah, it's kind of like, who the fuck are you kidding? You are not the party of the downtrodden. You are the party that manipulates the downtrodden. These guys that are in the regular prison lockup, you could give a shit less because you know they're not allowed to vote while they're in there. And some of them can't vote when they get out, right? But these other ones, as long as you keep them in the country and maybe hide out for 3 years, there's a good chance if a Democrat gets in, because the Republicans are so busy cutting each other's throats, there probably won't be a decent person to run. Then, yeah, you'll be able to naturalize them and have that permanent voting block that you all want. These two, Nixon and Eskamani, are just symptomatic of the cosplay, of the grandstand, of the I'm going to get a book out of this bullshit when it's over. There was a third guy who stood like to the left, who I guess worked for one of the two of them, and he just talked shit the entire time. I was like, man, whose badge are you hiding behind, sunshine, right? And the facilities guy, of course, was Casper milk toasting it because that's the best way to handle this. You don't want to go out there and say, hey, state representative, go F yourself. We're not letting you in. You want to keep blaming somebody above and somebody above and somebody above. However, as I said, these women, just like the ones in Newark, knew they weren't going to get in there, right? And my problem with that is, what if there's all these people laying on the side of the road out front of the facility, right, protesting, and they're worried about damaging the environment. What do you think driving all your cars and shitting in the ravines and throwing your trash around is doing to the environment? Nothing, right? Because you guys are Democrats. Actually, you're socialists. Socialist shit and urine and trash and things like that don't affect the environment because it comes from the bodies of angels. It just gets old very fast, guys. It gets old very fast. But like I said, knowing how we treat our own people in the correction system and how fucking kid glove this bullshit is with these guys, right? They're saying, oh, like, let's even go to the arrest. They tackled that guy, ran away from him. Now go watch a World Star video where the cops are chasing some dude, right? And then 17 people jump him. And of course, he's resisting arrest. So he gets his shit kicked out of him, right? You aren't seeing that level of whatever because these guys all know that they could be going to a war crimes trial or some shit because some hopped up Democrats trying to get reelected, right? If you, as a party, were that interested in the downtrodden, crime-ridden communities that you're all in, they get something done, but you don't want to do it, right? Angie Nixon's area, because I have this one. This one actually came up of Jacksonville. 34 crimes per 1,000 residents. It is worse than 92% of the US communities. They recorded roughly 7,063 violent crimes and 26,036 property crimes. Okay? So they are helping to pack the prisons over there. Does she worry about any of this? No, it doesn't come up. Her thing is housing. She wants housing, she wants housing, she wants housing, she wants some other things. But the fact of the matter is, who is going to want to do that? Right? Who's going to say, you know what, I really want to open a new business in an area that's 92% worse than everywhere else in the state? And that brought us drill music, right? So you got a lot of stuff going on there. But I will give a shout out to the following. All right. And this is actually, I'm going to give this because it needed to be done. While we're bitching about these people, there are also some decent Democrats out there. The Republican Party seems to have washed its hands of criminal, anything to do with trying to rehabilitate criminals in the state of Florida, unless it's to use them to do something like charge them too much at commissary or for long distance calls or shit like that, right? So here is a few that I think we're going to put in here because they deserve it. If you really were serious about it, here are Democrats who actually went to real prisons and got in real prisons because they went about it the right way, right? Because it's called the right way. It's called an etiquette or a protocol to get into the things. You can show up unannounced, but you have to do certain things even though you're unannounced, okay? Like they had with that other one of those other jokers who wasn't wearing anything and didn't have any ID and all this kind of shit and just jumps out of nowhere and got dogpiled. That's not how you do it. So we're going to give you a few right here. Shout out. Representative Kim Daniels, also from Jacksonville. Regular unannounced visits to the prisons. She singled out the 7 private prisons for making money and not producing results. And that was going back to 2019. Okay. Representative Dave Richardson, Miami Beach, same kind of thing. Unannounced visits, 100 plus unannounced visits from 2015 to 2017. Okay. Diane Hart, 56 unannounced walk-ins throughout the state. Your girlfriend and mine, Angie Nixon, but hold it, she held a conference after touring Lowell, right? Highlighting pregnant inmates living in 100-degree dorms. So she knew how to get into a state facility, or unless it's a county facility, but I would say Lowell CI is a state facility. It's a women's jail, and she knew better showing up. And that's why I'm giving her that extra criticism. So in 2023, she knew how to get into a jail, right? But she also knew this was not a county or state facility. It was this hybrid. So she knew that federal law is supreme, okay? That's why I'm saying she's total bullshit, complete and total bullshit. And her only thing was this pregnant inmate thing, which somebody brought to her. Never again do you hear her mention anything. Is she mentioned in any of these lists? Jason Pizzo, on the other hand, a couple different times, he's a big walkthrough trying to get some reform done. And Chevron Jones and then Diane Hart a couple of times as well, known for her unannounced inspections. Okay, she said that since 2018, Diane Hart, she's visited 50 of our prisons. Now, she gets done what she can get done. The point of the matter is, here are the people that are doing things, and there you have good old Angie having this total photo op situation, never has an interest before or after, because it was a slam dunk. This was a slam dunk for her. This was a slam dunk for Eskamani. They don't get into the facility because what are they going to do once they're in? They have no inside information because there is no inside information. I don't think that Nixon speaks Spanish. I don't know if Eskamani does. It's a question mark on that. Two of the people in the background were jabbering, but doesn't mean that they were actually part of the team. So if you don't even speak Spanish or have somebody that you trust that is a fluent speaker, what are you going to do once you get inside there? Or you're going to ask the prisoners, right? Doesn't make much sense to me, guys. But then again, I'm an idiot. So you would laugh at it if it wasn't wasting taxpayer dollars, which this whole thing did. And by the way, Orlando and Jacksonville are nowhere near Miami. And this was a taxpayer funded weekend for these idiots to go down, play like they're Superman, and then wander home and get ready for the midterms. I didn't even check on that, but we could find out if they were both going up for midterm election again. That would make some sense. So other than that, nothing but cosplay. And if you want to really just know for your own personal edification, you can find out, and I believe that we have it correct, that nobody has gone back to the Newark facility to do inspections because they never wanted to in the first place. So that's about it. Talk to you later on. Goodbye.